In the last video we covered making the canopy and the tails. I think in this video I want to go over making the weapons or armaments. As you can see in the image, we have something with fins on it. It looks like a bomb. I'm under the impression that the original Corsairs used that as a fuel tank, and fuel tanks of course wouldn't have fins on it, but if you're interested in adding fins, why not? Looks cool. Let's go ahead and make a new plane that we can extrude from. The XY plane is the top plane, and so I'll reference that when making a datum plane. Let's go with Z, all flip sides, and that's probably good there. I can import a picture of the bottom of the plane, but these weapons honestly were quite freehand just from looking at photographs. And so I think I'll stick with that. Now I'll edit this datum, and I'm going to move it a tad lower. And on this plane we'll create a sketch. And of course I need to reference the bottom, and my view is blocked. So let's take this top view and translate it upwards. Now I can sketch on this plane. So I'm going to make 4 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Interestingly, I have done some experiments on trying to make one and then patterning it, but the pattern direction vector to match the wing proved to be very tricky, and I find it easier to just make 4 slots. We'll make those lines equal. We'll click on this top arc center for every slot. We'll make that horizontal. From here, I'm going to choose a construction line. There we go. So I can control the spacing by setting these 3 lines to be equal. I can control the slot width by setting these radii to be equal. And I can give this something like 7. Whoa, what happened here? Merge these together. I'll give this something like 2. That's even very large. Let's go with 0.75. Okay, I'm going to be down to 0.5. And that should be pretty good. I think this sketch is probably getting close to the plane, but I think we can still swing that. So let's go back to the bottom view, and I think that'll be constrained enough, so we're going to close that. We're going to do a pad. We're going to say to last, and we're going to reverse the direction. Those are our slots for the weapons. So we're going to say OK. I can hide that plane now. The next thing to do is get on the front plane. That's going to be the ZX plane, or the XZ plane. Create a sketch. You want to edge import that little corner right there. And we'll go at about that angle. Of course, our true angle needs to be somewhere between those two, but I'll make it parallel. I'll take this line and make them parallel. Apparently I'm choosing not a valid line, and I think that that is crazy. Let's try it one more time. No. So I'll draw a valid line, and we're going to make that for construction. Parallel. There we go. And we'll make that 45 is fine. We're going to do a real nice and easy cut. Make that vertical. And we're going to say close pocket. And we can say through all. And there that we've got a very consistent length now. Next thing to do is, I believe I've made a plane early on that goes through the center of the wing. Datum plane 003 will do. I can turn off my front view plane to get a better look at what's going on. So I can cut my plane, and I can see that my two edges are here and here. I can make a circle over coincident here and here. And then I give it a radius. Let's say 1 millimeter might be a little bit small, 1.25 perhaps. And I can do the same for each of these. I think I drew a really small circle by accident. So, coincident. Choose coincident. And equal. And from there I can uncut my sketch. And let's go tasks, close, tasks, add. It looks all right. Let's hide that with the space bar. And from here, you can highlight each of these. This is 1.25, so we'll add in a chamfer. I can make that 1.25 to give kind of a tip to the missile. Of course, this is freehand, so it's going to be a little bit different than the other sketch the other plane that I've made. So next, any good missile will have a fin on it, and we'll want to define a plane for that. So we'll select this back face. We're going to sketch on the face of this. can import this edge to get, some references going. And I want my fin to be going 45 degrees relative to the wing. So I'll get my edge import tool out and import the bottom of the wing. And I can cut at my sketch plane so we can better see the angle that we're referencing. Next, I'm going to create, actually Polyline is much easier. Oh, and I made a right mess of that. Let's merge these two edges. And I can start with making a new sketch here of a simple rectangle. And those are not merged. Let's add those together. You can choose the perpendicular relationship here. Here I can choose something like 0.2 millimeters. I can reference the center of this by using a sketch point with the symmetric relation. That will help us align the fin to make sure that it's centered. Here we'll add that, and all we need is a parallel relation now. We know that our fin is coming out from the center. We'll add in another relation, or dimension here, and we'll make that, we go to 2 millimeters and push this out. Great. A for angle, and we'll offset that from the surface. Okay, so that wing is coming in as a spline rather than a line. We'll just add in a line here and make it for reference. Again, A for angle. We go with 135. I think every angle I've done so far has come in backwards from what I've intended. Yeah, something like that. And now we need to determine just a few other dimensions, and this will be kind of a placeholder. Let's go with 1 millimeter, and we're fully defined. Let's close that, and let's do a pad. I'm going to pad in the other way, and that should be fine for what we're doing. So at this point, when you kind of realize the challenge that you're up against, and what the easiest way to do to propagate this pad, if you do a circular pattern here and you have to do a pattern up here, that can take a long time, and you have to specify perfect direction vectors. So to best avoid errors, I'm going to go back into my sketch and show you my method that I use, and that is I should be selecting Polyline. Well, actually there's an even easier way that I've used, and that is Polyline here. We draw a vertical line and we draw a horizontal line. And make sure that these are coincident. We're fully constrained. From here, come down here. Well, I'll import these edges. I'm going to choose Polyline. And I'm going to draw a series of 2 lines between every circle that I've imported. And now going to a regular line. We're going to make each one of these lines equal with the E key. And parallel. And we're over constraints, so we may have to delete a number of constraints. Oh, that's all we needed, so I'll highlight these and one line and make it equal. We're going to choose perpendicular here. And highlighting the rest of the lines, we're going to go parallel. And again, fully defined. Next thing, I'm going to highlight these 4 fins here. And I'm going to highlight, actually it looks like I've done this wrong, so I'm going to delete this vertical and delete this horizontal. Cutting my view again, we'll take this line and make them parallel. And we'll delete this constraint and add in a perpendicular relation. And that's a bit more like it. I'm going to highlight these 4 lines now. And this line we will mirror. Now I can box select these lines. I can deselect that one point. I'll select this line, mirror. Now I can box select all my fins. I can disregard some of the internal lines and imported entity, and maybe a few sketch points that are inconsequential. Highlighting, shit. So now I can box select my fins, deselecting a few of these internal lines that don't really matter. I can select this line and mirror, and select these lines, mirror, select these lines. And I forgot my construction geometry there, so we'll choose our point of symmetry and mirror. What a great feature for modeling when you don't have to fully constrain. Here, I'll close my sketch, and we've updated to putting all the fins on our missiles. It's a pretty simple job now, going through the history tree. Notice there's our pad there. So with the pad highlighted, I can choose mirror. There. Now with the pocket highlighted, mirror. You can see our pocket is already to size. Then I go to the next thing, that's going to be our pad, and we'll choose mirror again. And it wants us to select our plane. There we go. Let's see if it will. If I highlight my chamfer, I don't think it'll mirror chamfers. it won't. So we'll add some chamfers in at the end. Next we'll choose our next pad. Okay. And we'll add in another chamfer on this side. Oh. But let's make sure we have all of our edges highlighted. Chamfer 1.25. So there we have that, and I think next, if we want to put the gas tank on the bottom, we certainly can. It's fun to see details on planes like this. So we'll grab our side plane. That's going to be our ZY plane. Actually, it might be easier to grab our top plane. That would be our XY plane, and create a sketch. I'm going to switch to the bottom view, and hopefully FreeCAD will let me do what I have to. I'm going to create another slot, and I think I'll have to change my draw style to wireframe, and I could probably head back to the top view. Go vertical, Shift H for a horizontal dimension. We'll do something like 0.75. That should be fine. Shift V, 18. So this is very arbitrary. So we can close that. Let's do a pad. And let's reverse that. Perfect. Now I can jump on to my right plane. That's our ZY or YZ plane. I'm going to cut my sketch view and hide my side view. And I can see that's to hold on to our fuel tank. So getting back normal, I can make a little fuel tank like that, horizontal. There we go, horizontal. Shift R for radius. We'll go with something like 50. There we go. Let's see how that looks if I complete that. Yeah, that's about right. So let's rebuild the sketch or get out of it. And now I'm going to make another sketch on the same plane, the YZ. And I'm going to import my bottom line for a rotational axis. And we'll close. Now, I can choose this sketch. I can choose Revolve. And of course, it's not revolving around the right axis. You can see if I go to as is. So we'll choose a reference and choose the next sketch that we've just done. And there's our tank, and you can add fins on that if you want to. Next, I don't think I'll make you sit through this whole. I'm going to add a few of my channel logos onto this, just because it's kind of fun to do after you make a part. So I'll time lapse this. Okay, so there you have it. There's some decorative insignias on the plane, and this should be pretty good, but we're going to add a few details in the next video to finish up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.